Welcome to another episode of In the Nude. Want to talk about how healing is kind of like growing up? I know. When we're in the process of healing, there are stages that go on. When you first start the process, you are so overwhelmed with everything that's going on, and depending on your personality, how that functions and works might look differently. I was one of those people who was a perfectionist and workaholic, so I dove head deep into trying to solve my issues. Went to therapy and was like, I've got this bullet point list of things we're going to cover in the next 6 weeks, and this is how long it's going to take. And I read like millions of books and anyway, all that to say, everybody, how they show up in their healing journey is going to adjust and look different. But there's this progression that happens that kind of matches when you're growing up, right? Teenagers, when they start getting the first time they're getting autonomy for themselves, right? Where they're getting to make choices, or at least for me in my generation, maybe it won't be the case for these kids that are growing up having the ability to have space. But for me, the first time period that I was allowed any type of freedom to make choices was when I was alone, away from my parents. There comes this arrogance, this thought process of, I know. And in healing, that happens. There's this when people are early, fresh on their healing journey, they have this mentality of, I have found the way. Listen, I know what's best. You just need to, I'm so excited, and they're so excited. They're so excited about what they learned, and that's wonderful and fantastic. But they have this viewpoint that one size fits all. That all this truth is so amazing. And they don't realize that the truth that they heard that resounded within them, what was true and hit the chord for what they needed at that moment, isn't necessarily what you're going to need. That this healing journey, this process of becoming more you, is uniquely individual. One person listening to a particular podcast and might come away with something that was extremely impactful for them may not be at all impactful for the person sitting right next to them, or the person in the car next door to them listening to the exact same thing. The healing journey is extremely individual, and it's the progression of healing and matching it to growing up that can maybe help you comprehend it to wherever you are in your journey. But if you're first starting out and you don't understand why people aren't getting these truths, you don't understand why they aren't just doing it this particular way, maybe they're not yet to a place where they can take up the mantle for healing themselves. Maybe they're still in a place of they're just surviving, and that's where they can, that's the amount of energy that they can give. They are not in a place to even consider, they haven't hit the rock bottom to realize that they have to do something, right? They're just surviving, and that's the energy they have, and it's okay. You can't force somebody further into it. Or maybe they're in a place where they're not in the exact same place you are. So they're going to hear other things that are more important to them and other truths that are applicable to where they are. A person might be further ahead in one particular area and further behind than you than in another, and that's okay. But as you get more grounded within yourself, and as you get more aligned with what works for you and what doesn't, and trying things and realizing that you heard something a long time ago and it didn't resonate with you then, but it does now, and you can hear it differently. Like when I first started healing, people would say things, I would hear people talking about healing, and they're like, oh, I'm so grateful for the trauma that I went through. What? What was my reply when I heard that in the beginning? I was just like, I can't even, like, you and I are different people. We're different people. If you can say to all of the shenanigans that I just had to live through, you have your, and you're going to say, yay, I wanted that, thank you. No, we are not the same people. No, thank you. You go over there, I'm done. But I now understand what was meant by the statement. For me, I never would want somebody to live through the things that I've lived through. I would never want and willingly be like, yes, I would love to take a dollop of that joy again. No, thank you. But if it took the heartbreak, if it took me shattering, if it took me being hurt over and over, if it took all of the pain for me to get here now, if that was the only way for me to go from where I was to where I am now, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad it happened. It's not because I wanted to live through that. It's not because the pain was like, oh yeah. It's because if that's the path that it took for me to now be at peace, for me now to be learning who I am and taking up space and enjoying myself and loving myself and being able to show up in the world more, to be able to give myself grace and accountability. Like if that's what it took to get here, okay, I'll swallow that pill. So I understand why they say it now. But at the time when I first heard it, oh no. As you go along further in the journey, you'll hear things you heard before and they resonate differently. You'll see, oh man, I remember when I used to think I had all of the answers, and you see somebody else. It's a natural progression. Healing allows you to follow your own instincts and find the things that resonate with you and push off the things that don't. What's the statement of take what works and leave the rest? That's essentially how you approach life, how you approach healing. And it's a very fun progression. But it isn't always fun to live through every stage, just like growing up. I don't know about you, but I definitely went through awkward, gangly, and uncomfortable with myself parts of growing up. The same thing has been true with my healing journey. There have been time periods where I have been so upset with myself and uncomfortable with the choices I was making and the fact I could understand something up here but not embody it down here. It's just a season, all of it. Everything, whether you like it or you don't like it, is just a season. And it's beautiful in its own right in that way. Kind of like, even if you hate the heat of summer, you know it's going to pass and fall's going to come. Or even if you love summer, you know it's going to pass and fall's going to come. Same thing is true with your healing. It's going to, each season, each part, each thing that you're struggling with and well at, it'll progress over time. And it's kind of beautiful that way.